Welcome to this episode of the Justice Team podcast on the Justice Team Network. And today we're talking about technology and artificial intelligence and specifically ways to better manage your documents. And as lawyers, we are essentially large language models because we do a lot of large languages. And we're very honored to have Muneeb Khadeer on today, who is the CEO and founder of a company called Klip, Klip, which we are actively using at our firm. So welcome on.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so some of the things we'll jump into just so you can understand what we're going to hear on this episode is we're going to get into some practical use cases where artificial intelligence is going, how you pretty much will be able, as a lawyer, need to know how to query just essentially a chatbot, and how to better use your data in your company.
Yeah.
All right. So why don't you give us a quick rundown of kind of your education and how you got here?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a mechanical engineer by trade, and I've been studying computer science, and I've gravitated over to that over a decade ago. And I've been working in technology and in the tech space for over a decade, working on products that use the latest technology. Some use AI, some use heuristics, but I'm very excited about AI and have had a lot of experience with it. So I decided to take a chance and start this company last year, and it's been amazing so far. So.
Yeah, and my understanding is you guys, your company's out of beta now, and in
That's right.
short order already got SOC 2 compliance.
That's right.
Can you explain to our listeners what that is?
Yeah, so SOC 2 compliance is a standard that has been established, which allows and tells the world that, hey, this company is securing the data, it's keeping your data private. And it's something that you can trust because they go through auditing. They make sure that your data is encrypted, it's secure, so that you can be confident with the security of your data.
So if somebody hears those use cases, well, like, hey, I use ChatGPT, I put my client's information out there, and now their information's public record, and now I leak some confidential information. Like, what do you have to say to those listeners that have that fear?
Yeah, so that's a very valid fear, right? Because ChatGPT is an amazing application. It kind of has started this whole trend and has got everything going, but it's built for all the consumers in the world, right? So there's tons of data that's going in there, tons of data being taken out. So those models are being trained on a daily basis with that data. So that data, if you read the agreements or read anything, is very much going in and being reused, right? I know they're working on trying to make it more secure and more private, but it's going to be very challenging just because they're bringing in all the data from everybody in the world.
And that's what we tell, a lot of lawyers and law firms, don't put any records into an open source like ChatGPT. Don't put any client's medical records or any confidential documents because it could get out to the public.
That's right.
And what's the difference between what you're doing at Klip and then what is that open ChatGPT, which people know from?
Yes. So what we're doing at Klip is we have our own architecture and we're using our own cloud services. So we're using both Amazon and Azure. So Microsoft also has a Azure API that we can use in order to be able to leverage some of the GPT services, but in a private way. At the same time, we're also using the large language models that are available now on Amazon Bedrock, right? AWS Bedrock. So we're actually using 4 different models within our platform so that we can make sure that we are able to give you the best results, right, for the type of question you're asking.
So, a lot of companies, technology companies are built on certain systems and infrastructure, whereas opposed to Klip is built on artificial intelligence.
That's right.
So walk everybody through the difference, because I think it's going to be important how things play out in the future as to what system your warehouse was built on.
Yeah, so one of the things early on that I was very adamant about with this technology space, a lot of people were building models, right? So a lot of companies were coming up trying to build models. Stanford has a great website which kind of ranks all the models that are available. So I knew that these models are going to continuously evolve. So I didn't want to be tied down to one model or one API for that one model, right? So the architecture that we particularly use is actually model agnostic. So that's what allows us to use multiple models. And as those models evolve and change, we can change those out, right? To be able to provide the best value to the user based on the questions they're asking.
But how does that compare to somebody that has, essentially a CRM,
Yeah.
and it's not built with those models or any
Correct.
models. How's Clip different from that?
Yeah, so all of those softwares were built on traditional architecture, right? So they're using, maybe they're using SQL-based databases or they're using, document databases, right? So with the advent of AI, there's new databases, like there's vector databases now that we use, for example, right? Along with the large language models, which are putting all of these words, all of this information in a vector cloud, right? So, and then being able to query that information. So they can also start doing that, but they would have to essentially, to get the best results, re-architect their software.
Yeah, and for people that have been listening to the show or seen some of my speaking engagements, I've been saying for almost 2 years now that lawyers are just going to need to know how to query a bot or ask a question like they do on Google in order to get the right answer with artificial intelligence. And to me, that's what Clip is, and what it does is it's relying on your internal documents, whatever documents you want it
That's
to
right.
rely on.
Yeah.
One thing that I was excited when I was researching the product is they're a partner with Microsoft, so Clip can plug into your SharePoint,
Correct.
your Microsoft Documents, even your Microsoft Outlook,
Yeah.
and your other systems, so you can ask it any question you want.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. And we wanted to keep it very structured, right? Because to your matter or to the things that you're working on. So even your emails, if they're related to, for example, your matter, it would be able to understand and have all that information and be digested so that when you're asking questions and you need information on the go, it's able to answer it with just that context, right? Not everything else.
How far do you think we are away from it being so intelligent that it can answer like my emails and I just have to review it and click a button?
I think that's possible today.
Wow, really?
Yeah, that's possible today. Now the challenge is that, I love to keep the human in the loop, right? In this particular situation where it can come up with a draft, right? And show you the draft, and then you can edit the draft. So that also gives us feedback at the same time.
Well, let me ask, because this is interesting to me. Imagine a world where
Yeah.
Clip is tied into all of my documents. It knows everything about that case, hypothetically, because we've queried it so many times that if somebody emails me about that case, it can have a proposed, maybe even with documents attached to it,
Yeah,
answer to that question, and I just have to look at, review it, and press send.
that's right. So
Wow.
yeah, it's phenomenal and this is the whole power of AI,
Yeah.
right? It's not heuristics. Like heuristics meaning, a solution where you're able to define every use case, right? So that it gives that answer. This is more a brain. So you can think of it even the way what we call is a neural network, right? So it's almost just like how your brain processes information, where when you get in information, you hit certain neurons fire in your brain, and then you retrieve the information for your brain, and then you say it, right?
Yeah.
So similarly designed, right? And that's the whole beauty of AI. That's why sometimes, when they really push it, it can hallucinate and do different things.
And that's why, like, at my firm and other firms, is we always wanted to give the correct answer to our firm, associates, staff on every particular issue. And we're asked the same question a lot of times through
Yeah.
training and these things, and sometimes you get bad information from outside sources. My excitement with Clip is it's your internal data set. So it's taking all of your internal work product and thought processes and getting an answer that way.
That's right.
Right.
And one of the main things with me is repeatability and accuracy, right? So what I like to say is accurate and complete is like the ultimate utopia, right? And then there's accurate but incomplete, which means as LLMs are getting better and better, they can be accurate, but they're not going through all the data, right? Because you have volumes and volumes of data. So that's where the fine tuning comes in. Then there's inaccurate and incomplete, which is like the worst situation.
Yeah,
right?
and
So-
that's what we see. And the other thing is, with Clip, it's also, I always say trust but verify. You got to have that hyperlink
That's right.
availability to go back to see where did you get that answer from and
Yep.
make sure it's correct.
That's exactly right. And that's why one of the main features we have is sources, right? So that's your document, but it tells you the page number, tells you where it got the information, and you will be able to verify that.
Yeah. So do you think that this means that law firms don't need staff? It's going to replace their jobs?
So I think that it's about humans that are going to be humans with AI will replace people, will replace humans without AI. That's kind of my vision here, right? So I think it's not that they won't need staffs, but I feel that they'll empower their staff to do more.
Yeah, and that's the thing is we've talked about this ad nauseum, but it allows staff to do less menial tasks they have to
right.
repeat over and over and actually use more brain power to do
Yep.
more things, right? So like for me as a lawyer, rather than sifting through all these things and doing the same mundane thing all the time, I have the AI assist to be in my client's house,
That's right.
to be in the courtroom, right? To do more because I have this powerful tool.
Yep. And it'll create I would say it's going to create a much better experience for everyone, right? Being able to ask those questions quickly, get accurate answer, and also not waste time, right? The main thing is wasting time. And some of these settlements, people would like to settle faster, right? And get through quicker just because of the situation. So I think that's going to be the main thing.
So here, let's go over some use cases of Klip, right?
Sure.
So my firm gets sent a lot of cases from other firms that are already in litigation or about to go to litigation or almost at trial to say, hey, can you guys try this case for us? Can you litigate this case for us? And a lot of our time is spent through high-level brain power of our partners to sift through all these files to see if there's any reasons why we should not take the case or some landmines or et cetera. How can Klip help us?
So you can take all those documents that you have, create a matter within Klip, upload all those documents, and then based on your knowledge and experience, start asking questions that you can quickly assess and determine if those landmines are available in those documents. Then you'd be like, hey, I don't want to take this case.
And that, I mean, for me, that's a huge time saver.
Yeah,
To
massive.
say the quick no, right? Rather than 4 hours of attorney time to figure out that's a no.
Yes.
But could I come up with a solution where I know 20 essentially questions that are pretty critical in most of the questions or cases that we review
Yep.
to see if I can get a standardized, all right, we got this new case Klip, do your thing and answer these 20 cases, 20 questions for me.
Absolutely,
Nice.
right? And so that's part of the design of the user interface, right? So we can already pre-coin that. We can have that available. So the moment you do that, you just go to a page which has all that information already populated
Love
for
it.
you. So you're not able to, you don't have to actually ask those questions.
So I could be like, what's the policy limit? Is there any prior medical treatment? What's the first medical treatment? Show me the MRI
Yes.
findings. Was there surgery? What was the surgery date? What are the settlement offers? What are the demands? All that. You could do it.
Yeah, it can do that
And
right
hyperlinked.
now. Hyperlinked, where
Wow.
it already do it while it processes the document, so that when you actually just go to the details page, you'll be able to see that.
Yeah, my brother always says he usually just to start with the defense medical exam report and work backwards. He's like, I could get a lot just by reviewing that medical report. But even if it quickly finds that report, hyperlinks it, it's a huge time save
Yeah.
to be able to do that. So another use case of it, right? So I was showing you before we came in here, I have a trial next week and there's dozens of depositions, a liability dispute with a catastrophic injury. And I think there's over 1 terabyte of information that we dumped into Klip.
That's right.
So what are some ways that we can query your system and what are some things it can do, quick and dirty or long term to help us in a case like that?
Yeah, so in that particular situation, right, that the documents you put in, there's like close to 1,000 documents. They could vary, right? So one of the things is it can help you understand the different types of documents that you have, right? And what it is that the information that you need specifically by being able to do that by itself, by going through the documents. And right now we're supporting certain formats, but we can start doing more. Vision is to do like, videos, audio files, everything, right? So that you have all that context. So when you're actually asking questions, you're able to get the answers at the same time, be able to see the sources of it. So whether you actually ask it or we have an interface for you, like almost like a dashboard, right? Which are some of the things that may help you quickly assess that case.
Yeah, and the way that it works is it's all OCR'd so that it's extracting all of the words from PDFs, and then your large language model is picking that up at hyper speed to be able to answer the questions over 1,000 documents.
That's right. And there's
there are thousands and thousands of pages.
Thousands of pages. Actually, I would say probably millions of pages, right?
Wow.
So, and even with OCR technology, right? So there's Adobe APIs. There's a lot of companies that do OCR, but one of the things we noticed was there's a lot of inefficiencies with converting image to text with some of those APIs. So we're actually using some of the latest technology there, right? Some of these open source components along with our proprietary kind of architecture to be able to give you that best result. So we're aiming for accuracy, right? And making sure it's reliable and repeatability. And that's really what our main focus is, right? These are kind of things that are very almost an oxymoron with AI because that's really hard to do. If you ask an AI the same question over and over again, it'll give you different answers. Like with ChatGPT, if you ask it to generate an image of a person, it'll generate that. But if you try to get it to regenerate the same image, it's almost impossible.
Really?
Yes.
Well, and the power of it too, I noticed on your system, it wants to learn. So it could tell you, score my answer. Why is it good? Why is it bad? Because then it gets better. It's learning.
That's right.
Learning. It's like I had somebody, say, I used this platform once, it didn't give me the right answer, and I stopped using it. And I was like, if a law clerk came to you and had the wrong answer, would you fire them?
Yeah.
You wouldn't ask it like, let me do it this way. Oh,
Yeah.
and then it gets the right answer.
That's right.
I mean,
Yeah.
so what do you have to say to those lawyers out there that think that one, their data is not secure, that my client's information has got leaked?
Yeah.
What's your answer to that for Klip?
So with that, we have all the standards that the world provides at the moment. SOC 2, SOC 3 is coming as well. So we're planning to do that as well to make you and give you some of that comfort, right?
Yeah.
That, your data is secure and it's private. And we want you to feel that way. And if you read our privacy policy, if you need the data, we back it up.
Who owns the data?
You own the data.
You, not the platform.
Not the platform.
That's very powerful.
That's very powerful to me, especially like with me as well. Like, that's one of the biggest challenges with us. We're sharing so much information, our identities in the world. We don't really own that data, right? So that's one of the core concepts of the company as well, is to make sure that you're able to own your data, because that's really what's going to be your currency in the future.
Yes, your own data.
Yeah.
And the better work product you have, the most higher power data is the value.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And that's you as a law firm. People always think about, well, like what's, as a law firm owner, sometimes people are like, well, what's my exit? What am I able to do? Well, if you have that amount of data and you have that much high level brain power documents that can be queried and the answer can be very quick and the best,
Yeah.
well, that's a different game.
That's right.
It's a different game.
That's right. And that sets you apart from your competitors and also creates better competition in the market.
Yeah. So for those lawyers, and is there a way though, like that we could like license the brain of our internal data to other folks so that they can learn too?
Absolutely. That's part of the vision of this, right? So goal 1 right now, we just launched August 28th, is to get people on board. Get
2024.
2024.
Yeah.
And, that's the game plan. Once everyone's in there, we'll give them a chance to monetize it. We'll come up with marketplaces, different kind of mechanisms
Well, I like
for
that.
them to be able to monetize and also get that return back, right, for their data as people are using it and sharing it.
I mean, imagine being able to query the best like bad faith lawyer in the country,
Yeah.
give them a case and say, is this a case or not? Why not? And
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
oh man,
Yeah.
I think it's closer than people think. Right.
Yeah.
So SOC 2 compliance, by the way, if you're listening, it's SOC, the number 2.
That's right.
Is SOC 2 compliance. We've talked about data security. We've talked about querying chatbots.
That's right.
Talked about not being replaced by artificial intelligence,
Yeah.
but being supplemented by it.
That's right.
And what do you think overall? Because I see so many companies popping up that say they're artificial intelligence.
Yes.
What are some ways that people can fact check to make sure that it's real and not just white label ChatGPT?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things, right? One is the security, one is the capability, one is the type of documents and the size of documents you can actually upload and do things with. Those are, I would say, the 3 big things that I would look at, right? Especially security, especially
Well, security, you can ask them if they're HIPAA compliant or SOC 2 compliant, because
that's right.
SOC 2 compliance incorporates HIPAA compliance. But what about like what's a red flag if somebody says you can only download like 10,000 pages or something like that?
So that tells you that, if you can only download 10,000 pages, then you know that they're capping it in the cloud, right? And another thing is, if people that actually use AI, it's very expensive. It's a new technology. So using these services in the cloud are the most expensive services right now. Like, actually having storage, compute, RAM are minuscule compared to what AI costs, right? So when you're sending a prompt to one of these LLM models, getting a response, just that one interaction, each word costs money, and that's what a token is, right? So each of these things is costing money. So if you're seeing, like, for example, a low price, either they have a lot of money that they're gonna burn, or it's something that they're probably.
Well, let's talk about price, because people think this is incredibly expensive and things like this.
Mm-hmm.
Klip is $500 a month per user.
That's right.
That's insane. It's a subscription. It's not a per run thing.
That's right. It's a subscription, and we want you to use it. We want you to feel the value of it. If you don't like it, you can cancel it, right? That's really the value of this. And we came up with that price, a lot of it to do with not just the value, because I always believe in 10x, right? So if you're paying $500 a month, you should be getting $5,000 back with it. If you're not, you should cancel it, right? That's kind of how I feel, $5,000 or more of value, right? So that's the philosophy here, right? That's one factor. The other factor is just the cost, right? Based on the documents and things you're bringing in. The reason I'm not capping it, because everyone's going to have a different variance, and over time we'll be able to balance that out, right? Because some people will use it a lot, some people will use it for a few cases. So I think over time we'll be able to balance the cost. At the same time, these massive tech companies are improving this every day, and the costs are going to come down in the cloud for some of these services, right? And so,
Love it.
and so I think it's a fair price point, and I think based on the value you can get it, and also with Klip, you know, one really interesting thing I learned early in my career is like if you improve 1% every single day, then by the end of the year you'll be 37 times better than you were today. And this is the worst Klip is
That
ever
math
gonna
went
be.
way over my head.
Yeah. So, but you know, it's an interesting thing to think about, right? Just 1% every single day. After a year, you'll be 37 times better than you were if you actually
Wow.
improve 1% every single day, right? So that to me is pretty phenomenal. And
What
I'm
if you
able to
improve
see that.
1%, then you degrade 2% the next day? I mean,
Yeah,
that's my
so-
struggle.
Yeah. So, well, then the math you'd have to subtract. You can still balance it.
Yeah. So, you know, thanks for coming on the show. How do people find you?
Yeah, so they can go to our website, kiowa.ai, and then sign up for Klip and get started.
So, what could you spell that for our listeners, please?
Yes, it's KIOWA.ai.
Perfect. And you know, we could probably work on getting our Justice Team podcast listeners a discount to Klip. Maybe we can put a discount code on there, 10% off. What do you think on the spot?
I think so. Let's
Oh,
do
I
it.
love it. So
Yeah.
we'll drop that into the notes, wherever you're listening, whether it's YouTube or in the Apple channel, something like that. We'll drop in a discount code for Klip. And so far, we've been up and running at our firm with several users, and we love using it. We look forward to, you know, enhancing more of our capabilities and making us more efficient, because on our side of the coin, we get paid perhaps and not pay per hour. So we got to be real efficient.
That's right.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Bob, for having me, and thanks, everyone.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Justice Team podcast on the Justice Team Network. Reach out if you have any questions to justicesteamnetwork.com, or if you want to get in touch with Klip, we'd be happy to make the introduction. Thanks, everyone.